With age gaps, how much is too much? We've all seen, and I know I have specifically in my office, couples who have a 15, 20-year gap between their ages. They run into issues just like everybody else. And so I basically have come to the conclusion that I think it's not so much the age gap as the way the couple is able to talk about it and communicate and make it work for them. That being said, it's important that you understand, according to the APA, the American Psychological Association, we usually recommend no more than 5 to 7 years as an age gap. And that's because if you go higher than that, you're sort of getting out of a generation and going into maybe another generation, which makes it more complicated with communication. And because communication is the crux of a good relationship, the ability to talk to each other, it's really important. If you're with someone who is a lot older and a lot younger, it's important that you understand that you may feel frustrated at times, like the relationship isn't going anywhere, or you might feel like you're always the one making the decisions, especially if you're the more mature partner. You could feel an emotional garbage disposal. Your partner looks at you to solve everything. Or you might feel like your partner never takes things as seriously as you do. Because when you're more mature and have more experience, you know what is important and what's not. That experience does give you a certain perspective that a younger partner does not always have. You might feel like you don't have much in common from time to time with your partner, and that's a realistic thing. That's a real thing. And being honest about that and talking about that before you're in a committed relationship is really important. Or you might feel like you never get the type of commitment from your partner that you want. What about if you're in a relationship and you feel like more that your partner is the one who maybe is the mature member? You may feel like you're always being told what to do. You might feel like your partner talks down to you or is trying to parent you. You may feel like your partner sees you like a child instead of their peer. You might feel like your partner doesn't trust you to complete tasks or follow through, and they resent you then for not contributing. You may feel like there's a timeline rush, like you got to do all this stuff in a certain amount of time because your partner is seeing their own mortality before you see theirs, before you see yours. You may feel like you're missing out on crucial years of fun. And I've seen this and had this discussion when one partner is a lot older than the younger one. The older one feels like they're running out of time, and there's certain things they need to do, rites of passage. And so they're kind of feel like they're dragging their partner along. It's not fun for the older one or the younger one. And problems come out of this. So what do I recommend if you have a 20 or more age gap? I would even say a 10-year or more age gap. Well, I think it's important, first of all, that you recognize your partner's worldview. It's very important that you get their perspective. Where did they come from? What was going on when they were growing up? How did they align their values to their societal norms? Societal norms dictate what we value and what's important to us. And that's why every generation is specific and different. And if you don't understand each other's, this is going to make it hard for the two of you to communicate openly and honestly. I think, secondly, it's really important that you ask each other how they feel about certain things before you try to instigate them within the relationship. Let's face it, if you're not honest with your partner, that you feel like you're being dragged around, or that you feel like you're being talked down to, or you feel like you're the Mr. Fix-It or Mrs. Fix-It of the relationship, that's really important. And if the woman is the older one, certain aging issues are going to get in the way. She's going to feel like she could mother you. She may feel like she has children your age. She may feel like her own beauty is fleeting. And when she sees you and compares you to other people more your age, then she's going to maybe get more jealous or more insecure about why you choose her. Making sure that you as a couple see each other not only as your chronological age, but as your spiritual age is going to help bridge that gap. I've known some couples who are 20, but they're 40 years in their spiritual and emotional growth. Whereas I've seen 40-year-olds that are about 18. I don't know if their frontal lobe is fully developed yet. So you can have a lot of variability in that emotional maturity. And it's so important you talk about that so that you can be open and honest about that. I think it's also really helpful when couples are able to understand that life experiences matter. For example, I love to travel and I travel all over. If you compare me to someone who is much younger but hasn't traveled, I'm going to be much more experienced, maybe much more interesting. And I'm probably not going to find a lot in common with that person because my worldview is more sophisticated. It's different. It's learned from other people. It's more open. It's more tolerant. It's more accepting. And I may not be able to find that in a younger partner. And that may be very important to me, which it is, because for most people, as they get older, they want that spiritual, emotional connection. And if you're still stuck on, going to have sex or doing the superficial, what I consider superficial connectors, it's not going to mean that the relationship can get a strong hold and feel good together. I think when large age gaps exist, it's very important that you're honest about where you see this relationship. If someone says, listen, we're just dating, I'm just having fun, I don't want a long-term committed relationship with you, be honest and listen to them, and don't try to talk them into it. Because when you try to talk someone into something they don't want, they may resist, they may go along with it, but you're going to be the disappointed one, because everybody has an idea, an intuition of what they need in the short time they're on earth. I think learning to be honest and honoring that with each other is so important, especially in age gaps. Can you make it with a big age gap? Absolutely. I've seen them, I've worked with them. Is it harder? Absolutely. It's much harder, especially as both people age, because let's face it, people get sick, people die, and that's more likely when you're over the age of 50 than it is when you're under the age. So if you are in a committed relationship and you're seeing each other together and you're at a point where both people are very viable, very physical, very active, get these issues out of the way. Talk about them. What would you do? What is the plan? How would you want to be cared for? Because if you make it and if you're committed, and remember, that's what my platform is about, helping you do that, then it's important that these kinds of things don't surprise you and derail your relationship.